Right now, it is time for This Week in the Lakeville Journal. We take a look at stories that we find on the pages of the Lakeville Journal, and even sometimes we take a look at their sister paper, the Millerton News. And we're going to get hooked up right now. And who do we have at the offices? John, is it just you at the office today?
Yes, it's me here today.
Okay.
Yes.
And I do believe we have Janet also.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning. How are you both doing?
Great. Love the weather.
Yes, yeah. Exactly right. Well, we'll start off right on the front page, and the new look for the Sharon Classic. Once again, the rain stayed to our south, which our meteorologist said it would happen, but it was a windy and very chilly day, but once again, a nice turnout for the Sharon Classic and their new location.
Yes, it was, and it was a wonderful family story as well, because as you read the story, you realize that a 13-year-old young man, teenager, won the race, and his mother was the first female runner to finish the course. So she came in right behind him. He was at just a time of about 30 minutes and 8 seconds, and she was 6 minutes behind him. But we have a photograph on the jump of the story. He looks like he's about to collapse.
It's always an interesting event, always gets a good turnout, and it was shaky this year simply because it was a new location and the weather was a little chilly with the winds and everything like that. But I think it's going to bode well that if you go on a windy day where the wind's against the runners and a cold day and you're in a new location and you attract about 130 runners, I think that indicates that it's going to bode well for their location. So congratulations, and of course this is a big benefit for the Sharon Daycare Center as well.
Right.
And we'll speak about the weather again. John will go to Patrick Sullivan's story. And I feel sorry because at least the runners can run and try to get warm, but the artisans couldn't run and get warm over the way.
Right. They were being blasted around. A lot of their placards and signs were moving this way and that. Once again, Patrick has done a wonderful job of capturing the spirit of the day, and his story is a story in itself about what it's like to try to run a sale like that and a show on a windy afternoon.
It's hard, and it's funny. I had a couple of emails and text messages why I wasn't at the new location because I've been I've been actually broadcasting from the Sharon Daycare Center. Is what started out as Trot for Tots and then turned to Sharon Classic for its entire history. But it wasn't the new location. It was the fact that I still had work done on my knees and to sit outside and for about 3.5 to 4 hours in 50-degree cold weather would have been extremely damaging to the knees. So I hope to be back, not running in the Classic. I have never run in the Classic, but I hope to be broadcasting it again next week, no matter where it runs. But yeah, there's something about not being active out in a windy, cold area. And it doesn't matter what type of protection you have on, you get extra cold.
Right, I think the wind does have a penetrating effect.
Yeah, especially when it's like 55 degrees and cloudy. It's actually your wind chill factors are right around 40. It's not a lot of fun. Right. Good news story, a very big good news story on the front page of the Lakeville Journal this week, and that is our legislators, both Republican and Democrat, have worked hard, and it looks like the legislature will now require a hazardous tree plan thanks to the public input and both our Democratic and Republican members of the legislative process in Hartford.
Yes, this is good news. I think it's going to be a workout between DEEP and the activists, or I don't really want to call them activists. They were environmentalists and tree wardens and conservationists and landscape folks who really came to the fore when the tree cutting happened last winter. And DEEP did get a lot of accolades for holding public hearings and for trying to figure out a way to do this because they had no process beforehand. And the bill that was floating around that didn't get voted in the Senate ended up getting folded into Senate Bill 238. So they're supposed to come up with a mitigation plan, and I believe that will happen because they were already on their way to developing one. So it's kind of a workout between DEEP and the legislature, and we will stay on top of this story.
All right, and we'll go to the top left-hand side of the front page of the Lakeville Journal. Cornwall's Affordable Housing Challenge, and right above it, the drop line, as of last year, 35% of the population in Cornwall is, quote, housing cost burden. What that means, end quote, is that they're spending more than 30% of their income on housing costs. This is a problem that plagues not only northwest Connecticut, adjacent eastern New York, but it plagues every place.
Yes, and as our readers, I think, know, the states, the Connecticut has required its towns rather, to really abide by a new mandated affordable housing plan requirement by this summer. And so everybody's coming together to figure out what exactly is going to be in their plan. And as they do that, they uncover the sort of statistical underbase, which shows that exactly what you said. It's a challenge for everyone. And I think the focus to some degree is on seniors, making sure that seniors are well accounted for. And the other issue that I actually was talking to Gordon Ridgway in Cornwall about is making sure that you have an adequate workforce living that can afford to live, trades, so to speak, that can afford to live in these towns.
It's a problem that appears to have no answer, and yet there are answers out there. It's just a question if people have to go with those answers. Well, John, you're new to being at the helm there in the Lakeville Journal. But once again, the Region 1 budget came up for vote, and there's thousands of people eligible to vote in our region, and 385 people turned out to vote. I mean, the budget passed with no problem. One town didn't vote for it, and that was North Canaan. But when 385 people out of thousands of people show up, I personally don't understand it. And Janet, you can chime in here with John, because I had several people come to me and actually say they had no idea this was going on. And I can't believe that, because between the Journal and us and the press releases and even the Republican American, this has been a while, and our cable TV. What more can we do as newspapers and broadcast media to get people informed? And even on social media, it's been.
Exactly, and it's not a simple thing, is it? Because we're asking people to take some action. They have to be a little bit proactive and pay attention to the information all of the local media is putting out there. We're fortunate in this area, for a pretty rural area, small population. We have a lot of opportunity for people to find out about their towns in ways that people without this local media just don't. So you're right, the excuses aren't there for not knowing at all, but they have to make some effort on their own and be interested, not afterward, not after they hear about it, but before it. At least they heard about it afterward, too, and thought to say something to you.
And it's not like we don't all, you can't say it's because we're not on social media, because we're all on social media.
That's right.
I mean, there's just so much that we can do to keep the public informed. But I was shocked. I had at least 4 people contact me. Mm-hmm. And I was amazed. I was absolutely amazed by it.
Did they say if they do pay attention to local media at all? Do they read it and they just didn't see it?
They didn't even go that far, but they have to be on social media. I mean, everybody.
Seems that way, If they know enough to contact you, they must be,
well, that's
in some way connected.
That's what I don't understand. Well, anyway.
Yeah.
I'll offer a point here, which may, even though I'm new to the scene, I think I've discovered in a large measure that the community is really happy with the schools. Lisa Carter actually talked about it at the Sharon budget meeting where they went over their Board of Education budget. And people are actually in pretty good mood about the schools. And so if you don't have a problem, you're not sort of driven to rush out and do a vote to stop something. You know what I mean? So I don't know. That's just my 2 cents. But there seems to be a very positive. Our coverage of schools is very positive in terms of sports and elementary schools. So people may just be lulled into thinking that everything's fine, and perhaps that's why there's a lack of desire to run out and vote. Don't know for sure.
All right, well, we'll move inside, and there's good news because Betty, and we're not talking about a woman by the name of Betty, we're talking about the Community Health and Wellness Mobile Clinic is now covering 5 towns in our region, and this is very important while we await for that clinic to be built in North Canaan because the lack really of primary care providers.
That's right. I went down to that the first time it showed up in West. It was in West Cornwall on a Wednesday morning, and one of the first patients was the last primary care physician to run an office in Cornwall, and that was actually in the late 80s. So it's been more than 30 years since West Cornwall, or Cornwall itself, has had a primary care physician. And the doctor, Anna Timmel, is very supportive of the idea of this possibly becoming a future way that medical care will be delivered to people who are not close to medical centers.
Yeah, it's hard. It's not the same, but you know what? At least by going to things like this, you have some forewarning that you can do follow-up and stuff like that. So I'm just very pleased at how quickly they've gone from just being at the Sharon Hospital now to being in 5 towns.
Right, and there were two new patients on that Wednesday morning who were not there to get a COVID vaccine or booster. They were there for a checkout on something. That's really key because our population is aging, and it's good to get early indications of any problems.
All right, we will move on, and I'll tell you what. On the New York side of the border, Massachusetts and Connecticut, the support for Ukraine is almost complete, and you've got a picture on page A3 about the annual Cornwall Consolidated School Walkathon, which was to benefit Ukrainian relief.
Yes, that again was one of those kind of chilly, wet mornings, or early afternoon. But cloud cover came in, and it got even colder. But they did walk down Cream Hill Road, raising money for Ukraine.
And other good news: Salisbury managed to do it again. Their mill rate is staying put for yet another year.
Yes, I wish Patrick were here to give you the full, deeper story on that. I'm not as tuned into the mill rate story in Salisbury, but it is good news, and it is the kind of thing that, once again, we had budget, both town and school budgets that were really held in line, and they were able to hang on to their mill rate.
We can take a look at the story about Kent. Cornwall announced their opposition to the cutbacks at the Sharon Hospital by New Vance Health. And, of course, you have the Save Sharon Hospital group here in Sharon. Now, Kent has joined other towns in opposing the hospital cutback. And Kent especially is one of the first towns that lost all their health care providers. And I think it affects them even more.
Yes, I mean, they joined along with Salisbury and Cornwall in writing a formal letter to the state, the selectmen did, discussing what the impact would be of discontinuation of services on the town. And everybody seems to be sort of saying on these selectmen boards that they're not really doing a service to the community. This is a story that we have to keep on top of.
And right below that, we're a story by Lila about Cornwall's wastewater project. Their information forum is coming up on June 11th.
Yes, and this is, if anyone has recently driven over the covered bridge and up the hill there, you can see how all those homes and businesses are sort of chock-a-block on top of each other, and so that's where they want to put in a wastewater project, and it won't even extend sideways out to the side streets, but it will run from the main through the main part of town there, and so the main thing is that they've gotten themselves cleared on a description of the project, and now they're going to have a town meeting on June 25th. There will be one on June 11th, which is an information forum, but then there will be a town meeting on the 25th, and then in July a town-wide referendum.
All right, as part of that story, Gordon Ridgway issued a warning of black bears in the area. Well, just the other day on social media, there was a big black bear sitting by the bear-proof garbage containers in front of Le Bon's, and with the traffic going by and the people, and the bear was just sitting there. I mean, it's absolutely amazing.
Just one of the group downtown. That's it.
Just sitting there hoping against hope. I mean, we had another bear here at the station the other day who decided when I came in to turn our one of our garbage cans upside down, but once again, very disappointed because there is no food in our garbage. It's just paper waste. But anyways, they're kind of cool to see, but also don't approach them when they're out there like that. An interesting story in that the Blue and Gold art show, which deals with Housatonic Valley Regional High School, well, because where it normally is held is no longer open. The Blue and Gold is going to be held on May 20th. This year it's at Housatonic Valley Regional High School.
Yes, and there's a reception as well on the 20th from the May 20th from 4 to 6, and an award ceremony at 5 p.m. on that day. So I'd encourage everybody to go out there and take a look. High school students are really enthusiastic about this.
All right, and speaking about budgets, tomorrow in Sharon on May 13th, the Sharon budgets will go to vote, and the Kent budgets will face a town vote on May 20th.
Yes, we were talking earlier about the turnout for Region 1 on something like a big budget issue. And it seems like we're in budget season. We have budget stories from every town, naturally. And what's beginning to show up a little bit is a kind of struggle on the part of these towns to deal with inflation and deal with town employee labor issues, not really issues, but adequate pay. So there's some deeper stories coming out of the budget story this year, I think.
All right, and as if North Canaan needed more bad news, the transfer station fees are increasing there on July 1st. They're just getting whacked, whether it's school, whether it's the town budget, or whether it's the transfer station fees. I mean, North Canaan really is under the gun.
Yes, I see also that they have to also increase the fee for seniors, and what's interesting is that the fee for residential took a pretty good jump. The fee for seniors was only $10, and commercial users really held pretty steady at only a $5 increase, and I think the issue of inflation keeps coming up, as you see in the story below at Salisbury. You're probably going to mention that they've had to increase their growth pricing.
Yep. There's not many places where prices are going down.
Right.
We'll see that. Let's go to the editorial page. Janet, a step forward for affordable housing.
Right. We're talking about, we talk about affordable housing a lot in our editorials over the years, and for very good reason, as we've already spoken about in this issue with Deb Alexis' Cornwall story. Sharon Village 3 in Salisbury receiving $1.5 million in funding from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development to move forward. And so this is 10 additional units that will make a difference. And yet, it just is scratching the surface as far as fulfilling a need, and will only take 10 families off the waiting list, leaving 30 more on for that waiting list only at Sharon Village. So do read it, look at some of the background, and try to think about how you can make things happen in your town for affordable housing, whether it's through volunteering or just support.
And on the opinion pages, of course, turning back to pages, but 7 different letters, everything from the Supreme Court, Roe versus Wade, of course. Also, what should our answer be? Symposium, which was held at Troutbeck, and even a thanks to the community.
Right. Really a wonderful array of letters. We are so lucky with our readers. Don't miss Willard Wood's, he's from Norfolk, his decolonizing the Supreme Court argument, really gripping. And so is Jane Bean's from Cornwall. Roe v. Wade reversal would be devastating, very personal and very affecting. So, yeah, and we're so lucky to have Dalibor Yanchevsky writing for us. You know, he has a background in diplomacy, and he's from Macedonia, so sees it from the inside out as far as what's happening in Ukraine. So definitely give that a read. They're really good.
All right, and we have about a minute and a half left, and once again, you've got a pretty full compass.
Yeah, totally full compass. And so, of course, you know, Cynthia's the one who gets what's going on with this, but just looking through, we have PS 21 in Chatham, has an Afrobeat celebration coming up. Cynthia writes about mystery thrillers on stage and new productions. There are 4 solo shows at the Great Barrington Public Theater coming up. Sharon Playhouse, seeking 10-minute plays, which is such a great idea, and your interview with them previous to us was just great. Film Festival fundraiser for Ukraine up in Great Barrington, and Ed Furman, who's just wonderful, 2 exceptional dystopian thrillers he talks about, so don't miss that.
You know, those plays, those 10-minute plays have been going on at Barrington Stage for a while now. I think they were not the last 2 years, but I think they called them 10 by 10. They were 10 different 10-minute plays.
Yeah, so creative.
Yeah, which is a way where you can see a lot of new works and not spend a lot of time. It's kind of a great idea. So I hope that people can submit it to the Playhouse. Well, that's just some of the stories that are in the Lakeville Journal this week. And, of course, their sister paper, the Millerton News. TriCornerNews.com is where you can get it on the web, and also at newsstands and home delivery. Guys, we'll speak to you again next week.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much.
Take care,
Thanks
guys.
a lot. Have a good week.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
That is This Week in the Lakeville Journal. Once again, TriCornerNews.com on the web.